And here we are. Alright. I was going to film a different intro and everything, but yeah, we don't need to see me trying to do a straight razor shaving tutorial. Anywho, so yeah, here I am just cutting out the photo etch, and sometimes I'll be smart and deburr it a bit, but other times the tweezers let go and it flings into your eye. So we're not going to let that happen right now.
Alright, so I'm not sure if you can see this, but one of the issues I often face with these guys here, with the metal, photo metal parts, especially if you gotta paint them, is the paint chipping off like that, which is freaking annoying. Now I can use a bit of your acrylic paint, cover things up, but what I've not been doing, and maybe what I should be doing, is using some of that metal spray primer I've got. Only problem with that is it adds extra steps, and I'm lazy. I want to do this for enjoyment. I don't want to have to learn witchcraft and alchemy just to get a good result.
So saith the man who regularly practices and shares his exploits in witchcraft and alchemy to get the results he wants. Yeah, I know, I'm full of contradictions, but so is life. Anywho, there I am just using the acrylic paint to paint over not only some of the iffy bits in that cockpit, but as well as paint some extra details onto other photo etch pieces that I also primed. I don't think I primed those properly, but also now, as you see, again, the classic technique of carve out things from the photo etch fret with a scalpel, try to hold on to the tweezers, and hope it doesn't fling into my eyes, while I also consort with the dark powers of Cyanoacrylate. Yep, lots and lots of tweezing and poking and prodding. Good thing I use a mechanical pencil to kind of dip it and be like a nice-handled, you know, cheap toothpick, but that's besides the point. And here I go using the scalpel to do something that I describe now, and it's actually nice.
I'm gonna be honest, I have no clue how I pulled this off. Can I even zoom in to get close to it? Right there. Okay, yeah, whatever. Just put this wire temporarily out of my way. Let's zoom, see if I can't zoom in just a little more. Is this gonna get too blurry to show? Alright, about there. See these little switch doodads right there? Those little guys are little photo etch dealies, and they gotta go right. Basically what I had to do was, for some reason, small parts will stick sometimes when you put them a scalpel on. You put them right next to a scalpel. Maybe it's some kind of air pressure thing. Maybe it's the, you know, just oils on my skin or something. But a little bit of glue, put it in the little holes, and put these in there. Yeah, this works better than the tweezers for that. Alright, this memory card's only got 4 minutes, so I'm going to go ahead and switch to the next one.
Ah yes, 4 minutes. Much longer in the video, too. Anywho, so yeah, there I go, putting on, again, more super glue. Well, actually, I don't think I used super glue there. I think I did. Yeah, I did it somewhere else. And I used, again, that masking tape just as not only a way to hold on the photo frets to, like, the paper they come on, so they're all organized. I also use it to hold down pieces of photo etch that I'm painting in place. You know, it gives a good way to hold it in place and spray it. You're gonna see a lot of, you know, me trying to file and fiddle with things with the tweezers in this video, but I will explain 2 things you see right now, which is those vernier calipers and this piece of aluminum foil that I'm gluing things on. I glue things on the aluminum foil because the aluminum foil will nicely tear off just about everything, including super glue, with minimal effort. The verniers are because electronics will give out and gears will wear, but those verniers are going to be usable until long after my eyes get to the point where it doesn't matter anymore.
Alright, so during some of that time lapse that you probably saw was me cut one of these out, try to fold it over, then try to get it into here doing some finickiness, and I got a couple of them in, but, well, I finally run out of them. Of course, the train goes by, and I'll probably get a call in a minute or two about a possible job opportunity, because YouTube is not my main source of income, boo-hoo. But, well, that's okay, because for it to actually become my main source of income, I'd have to be ridiculously successful at it. Anywho, so, as you can see, these little pieces right there, that's him right there. Let's see if I can't zoom in just to really drive it home how freaking small these things are. Yeah. For those more familiar with my Dreadnought playlist, this is far beyond the level of just Note the Dime. Actually, that is about at the level of Note the Dime. But anyways, so, how do I resolve this issue? Because they're all flying off in the null space if I hold them with my tweezers. Well, This plastic guy is just about the right size to make a kind of mock-up. So I'm going to do that and hope that that works good. At least then, if I make these by hand, one, that's impressive in its own right, but two, more importantly, I'll actually be able to fully detail this panel up. Of course, to really fully detail this panel up, I'm going to actually have to find a way to paint these good. Actually, there is ways to do that, but I need poster putty. I should acquire some kind of poster putty. Okay, I will go do that.
And while I do acquire poster putty, it's after I make these handles. So you'll see me take these and try a bunch of different things. First I try carving it out, doesn't quite work. Then I try to apply the soldering iron and make the thing melt down like you do if you're making a ball out of a piece of metal wire. That doesn't work either. Then I get the bright idea to take a bunch of these, cut them in half the long way, and you'll see this in slow motion. You might be surprised that I'm able to do something this small, especially without goggles to assist me, but I jerk it, and that's a lot smaller. That requires an electron microscope. Still feels good, but that's besides the point. Anywho, so, again, I cut that in half, and it's not using profane methods, but that's besides the point. And then I go ahead and I put a bunch of these along with some full-size pieces of the styrene onto a piece of foil and then glue them all together. The foil keeping these pieces from having the solvent glue that I use to glue plastic together to glue to my plastic mat. This actually I then try to heat up and you'll see the results, but it doesn't work either, spoiler alert.
Alright, so just in case you're not seeing this here, I got one of these little lever boys here, right, or lever kind of twin things, and I was going to heat the tip of this metal, that's important, metal set of tweezers up, and then I was just going to squeeze till it kind of splooge flat, and then I was going to try to carve after it all, froze and stuff. But that begs a bit of a question here. What am I holding this with right now? How hot is this going to get? About 650 is like one of the settings, and it might have a higher setting, I don't know. But question, what happens when metal heats up? It conducts. This nice, really conductive piece of metal, acting like a giant heat sink to my cold relative to the heat that'll be here hand. Conducting all that heat to my bare flesh. And this, kids, is why you think things through.
You know, I solved my heat problem with wrapping it in cloth. You can solve a lot of problems with a wrapper. Like kids, you can solve that with a wrapper.
And hilariously enough, that's not... Apparently, I didn't burn myself, so... Yay for that, I guess. Here we go. There we are. So as you can see, I have now these fat globs at the end of the thin, sticky thing that I can go ahead and cut down to make actual shapes. That looks like this strategy could work. Okay, what just fell? Okay, it wasn't my balls that dropped. That wouldn't make a claim. You know what? Yeah, because like this is gonna throw things off so much, I'm gonna go ahead and do it the other way. I mean, yeah, I'm gonna just do it the other way. Okay. It was a good attempt, though.
The other way is not to buy another photo-etch set, and I'm too cheap for that. So what I do is I take a bunch of these plastic lever bodies that I've made, and I put them onto masking tape in a way that'll enable me to hold it nicely onto where I go, and I paint a bunch of little photo-etch parts. And so I'll be able to prime everything and whatnot, but after priming it and then painting things silver and what have you, or other colors, yep, again, me just taking those levers. Those levers don't go on very good into the instrument panel, spoiler alert. And then, of course, I go ahead and fold some other photo-etch bits, and I try to solder that together this time, but it doesn't really go good. It's not amenable to it. So I, once again, learn a lesson and start, once again, to consort with the dark powers of cyanoacrylate. Truly a sad day. Also, that thing you saw me in one of my hands trying to wick away some of the solder was a desoldering wick. Not worth it. But hey, a good spray booth thing is worth it. Along with the metal primer, which also seems to help a little bit. So yeah, metal primer comes in a spray. I hate spray cans, but well, I mean, I work with cyanoacrylate, so I've already worked with things far, far worse than the devil. I mean, hi. Yeah, so there I go, priming things with regular primer. Then I go ahead and spray some stuff. Yeah, and you see, of course, the little syringes that I use to control my mixes of airbrush paint. I think it's a really good way to do it. And then, of course, I finally break out the acrylic paints, and I start painting things, including making those levers, which I basically did by letting globs of acrylic dry on the ends of those lever bodies to be knobs.
Alright, so we're going to see a little thing here in these instructions where you want to line up bottles and stuff to parts of where the, cockpit is supposed to be, where the cockpit, glass is. But you'll notice I don't have a direct, core, analog to that here, right? Well, actually, I can very quickly make one. Okay, so I'm going to put this right, like, here. But I can actually do a little better. Because it'd be really shameful of me, in my opinion, if I didn't at least try to carry some of this fine work that I've done in detailing across that whole, area. Okay, so, and yeah, I think I'll also do that one right there. Okay, right? Perfect, great. Now that I have these little tick marks, I can actually, put the details on as could be appropriate. Yeah, I'm still gonna have to do some smoothing things out.
Well, yes, sanding and smoothing. The old joke in this channel that I just won't let die. Like this Dremel doesn't die. It seems to have been pretty reliable. And I use it to smooth off a lot of these model kit instrument panels so I can put the much better photo-etch on them. I also do some sanding, and then I realize that I've sanded over the wrong place. But I also solved that problem in an American way.
Maybe next time or sometime in the future I'll learn not to, do, kind of Dremel work too close to, other stuff. Alright. At least I can use this as a sort of air gun to, blow it all away.
You see, using a gun to blow the problem away. Okay, grim, dark, sadistic humor aside, I go ahead and those tick marks I go for transferring the details on the fuselage to that top cockpit piece. The top fuselage bit that I've made. I do that on both sides of that using mechanical pencil. And then I do a bit more of, folding this, first, carving up and further smoothing out the surfaces of those model kit instrument panels. I believe you may also, and I fill some of it in, but I'm wearing those gloves because I've learned that I'm kind of allergic to Magic Sculpt, unfortunately. Sad to learn that, but at least I've learned that. That's good, I guess. Still sad. More sad than my bald spot that you keep seeing. Sorry about that. I'll try to get better at editing in the future. So, I'm trying to be better at editing that glass there.
Alright, so I was just fiddling with this thing. I realized that, this is... You look close, you'll see gaps, you'll see... I can bring you and I make you look close. Lazy ass. You can see there's gaps there. And I still got to add some inner details. Plus, any of the photo etch, it does go up high. I have to add. So, this thing is yet going to be even more of its, own side project within this project.
Not side chick, side project. I married one of the good women. I'm going to stick with her. 1, 2. Yeah, I actually do try to put in the top bits of glass too. And yeah, I'm going to need quite a bit of work to fix that. Sadly, I only had cyanoacrylate with this first pass, so it did better than expected, but, well, it's still cyanoacrylate. And bald spot. And more bald spot, and then more fiddling with photo etch, and finally putting it on. Now, I had to use cyanoacrylate to put these bits of photo etch on, unfortunately. But, well, let's just say, spoiler alert, we're going to find something wonderful soon enough, in about, 7 minutes or something, I don't know. Well, 7 minutes more, and less than 7 minutes for you than me. Thanks if you're still watching, by the way, as I fold up the photo etch with tweezers and glue it in place. I suppose I could talk about stuff other than what I'm doing on screen. I could talk about things I'm doing off screen. But, no, this is for model making and making stuff. So, yeah, I go ahead and I take some of the, I think this actually was the actual primer I used. Just using it for a bit of gap filling and getting a smooth paint job. And then I decided to paint this by hand, because why not? I then, of course, watch the paint dry on the camera. I figured it was kind of a cool time lapse there. And then I go, get things kind of folded and put in place. That's green stuff putty, which hasn't caused me any problems. And then here we go, using a spray booth to actually get an even black coat of paint onto this model instrument panel. Before finally having to actually try, coat with, well, first I coat that with paint after, getting all the black stuff in. This is my first attempt at a crisscross kind of pattern on this. I muck it up by applying some clear, flat varnish wrong, which is unfortunate. But, I figured try freehand the background of that instrument panel, and it did better than I thought it was going to, but still not as good as I would have liked. And that's for all of these, not just this first one that I kind of ruined. But hey, I learn and I get better, and we can kind of see that in this video. This first attempt was just yuck, even with the flat thing after. And then, of course, you'll see me once again after the applying the flat clear stuff wrong. I apply some of the regular, everyday, paint, right? I'll change the music up because why not? And then after getting a good coat of that green paint on the background of everything, I think I do it to both things first. Or, nope, I guess not. We'll see. Yep, so no, I go ahead and I use oil paints a little just to get the thin black streaks with a paint that won't be a pain in the butt for me to use. I eventually grow a brain and just use the acrylics because the colors match better and they're not actually that bad. For little stuff like this, I've gotten used to the fast drying times of acrylic. But you'll see me break out the oil paints, especially if I need something that, will be easier to blend, especially with a small brush. I'll eventually learn how to blend with acrylics. I mean, I do this hobby enough. So, but yeah, it's besides the point. Now, as you can see again, I unfortunately thick for the crisscross black lines, but I think I get a reasonably convincing effect freehand for the dimples that are on these instrument panels on the actual plane. I'm not sure if it's just some weird armor quilting thing, probably some other, maybe it was actually meant to be insulation. Oh, I bet it was a spall liner. As I go ahead and I put on some photo-etch, you're painted over by the manufacturer photo-etch pieces for better detailed instruments. Here it is. I've changed the music. Something momentous and important is about to happen. What is it? I've been alluding to it!
And just like that, I find the UV resin that I purchased. Explicitly because UV curing resin might serve me better and securing certain things in place. And lo and behold, it is. I hope. Please work. Yeah, this is my UV flashlight kind of thing. It's basically a blacklight flashlight. That's why, the color white looks so glorious under this thing. Yeah, you'll see all sorts of stuff under a blacklight. I'm sorry. Sorry, simple minds entertained by simple things. But yeah, so by curing the UV resin with this light, I'm hoping that it'll hold that together much stronger.
My love of simple things is probably so great you can call me a simpleton. Anyways, I put on the other painted over photo etch bits from this kit from Edouard. Very nice kit. And the very end of this time lapse, you will see me start putting together another thing that I got the clear resin for.
Alright, so another reason that I got the UV cure resin that I finally found again today, is because I thought it might do a slightly better job on some of the, fake glass stuff that I do. I've been using, clear, gloss, but if this works better, then I'd rather use that. So let's see, can I... Good. And control, too.
And then I just time-lapse through the rest of these, because why not? We're in a hurry now. Maybe? I don't know.
Beep. Sober drugs.
Yeah, okay, I'm 12. But it's a great effect, and we'll be using that on future glass dials in this project, and probably others as well. And then you see me putting on little bits of photo etch onto these inside instrument panels for the cockpit. I will not add the little levers there, though, because, well, I do this for enjoyment, and no one's really going to see those that deep down in. And then last thing I do is I put on those side panels, and I call it a day.
All right. I was going to end this earlier, get this video out on time. I've still got some work to do on this chair, but that's neither here nor there. But I figured, you know, I wanted a little more to show for my efforts, you know. I want to actually have something kind of decent looking here as a sort of start, you know. And this is looking pretty good to me. I've still got to, you know, set up some lighting, some wiring, kind of figure all that stuff out. But that is besides the point. So it's probably like, what does this studio app say? I'm overdue to you guys. I try to get these about every 30 days, and it's 47 days. So, yeah, sorry. Oh, and 96 subscribers. So thanks, new subscribers. In now for the standard YouTube dance of, like, share, subscribe. Hooray! All right, peace out.